Rob Ford and the spotlight on a rare cancer. What is it? How can it be treated? And can it be detected early? We talked to our health reporter. Also, the Ford factor in the Toronto election. I'm Affan Chowdhry. Welcome to Globe Now. Toronto Mayor Rob Ford has a rare form of cancer called liposarcoma. And it is, according to his doctor, fairly aggressive. But his doctor is also optimistic about the treatment. So lots of questions, and let's dive into it with our health reporter, Kelly Grant. Hi, Kelly.
Hi.
So we know what it is, we know where it is. Why wouldn't the doctors do surgery?
So they may wind up doing surgery down the road. This cancer is apparently very sensitive to chemotherapy, so the doctors think that they have a good shot of trying to shrink the tumor first with chemo. Right. So they're going to try that first. He'll undergo 2 rounds, and then they'll scan him again and decide from there whether to proceed with radiation or surgery.
So chemotherapy is imminent for Rob Ford. What is it going to be like for him over the next couple of weeks?
So, I mean, it could be a tough go. I mean, people react differently to chemotherapy, but it's generally not a very pleasant experience. The schedule for him is going to be, he'll start within the next 48 hours, undergoing 3 days of chemotherapy at Mount Sinai Hospital, followed by 18 days of what's called a washout to sort of recover. Then he'll have a second round, same thing, 3 days, followed by 18 days of recovery. And then the doctors will scan him and see what kind of effect the chemotherapy has had.
Do we even know what causes liposarcoma?
We don't. I spoke to a couple of doctors last night after the press conference, and I mean, this is a very rare cancer. The doctors don't really have a great handle on what causes it. The one thing doctors did say to me is that it's not apparently caused by lifestyle factors. So things like diet, things like exercise, how much alcohol you consume, these don't have an effect on causing this cancer. In fact, the greatest risk factor, for it is exposure to radiation from previous cancer treatments, which we know, Rob Ford has not had. So this really does look like just a stroke of very bad luck for the mayor.
Okay, let's take a question from a reader. This is a reader who asks, what I don't understand is how they didn't catch this cancer for so long. Is there a routine test for this cancer?
So there's not. So that's a really good question. I mean, I think when we first got the news that Rob Ford was sick and that there was a tumor somewhere in his abdomen, a lot of people made the assumption that it might be colon cancer, which the mayor's father actually died of in 2006. And there is a routine screening test for colon cancer. But there isn't for this kind of sarcoma. It's just too rare. It's the kind of thing that could be caught, incidentally on a CT scan, but a mass that shows up on a CT scan can be lots of different things. In general, this is just too rare a cancer for there to be any kind of good screening strategy for. You're really not going to catch it, like I said, unless it's caught incidentally on a CT scan, or you start experiencing the kind of pain that Rob Ford was feeling and that prompted him to go to the hospital last week.
I mean, one of the things that struck me watching the press conference was, the cancer is rare. It's aggressive in this case, but there's optimism. And I'm just wondering, what does that say about where we are in terms of treating cancer?
Well, I mean, in general, I think treatments and survivability for cancer overall has been improving. Now, I mean, it's a different story depending on the location and kind of the cancer, right? But we have to, I think, take the word of Mayor Ford's doctors, and they're saying they are optimistic, and the reason they're saying they're optimistic is because they think this kind of cancer responds well to chemotherapy. I think the other reason probably to be optimistic is that this hasn't spread to any major organs. I think the prognosis would be quite different if this had moved to, say, his liver or his lungs. It has spread to a small nodule behind his hip on his buttock, but it's not gone to any major organ. So I think that sort of explains some of the optimism, and then the fact that it might respond to chemo. And so, in general, things for cancer tend to be moving forward well, I think, although, that story is different depending on the kind of cancer you have.
Okay, Kelly, thank you so much. We want to hear from you. What questions do you have about this type of cancer? Tweet us at Globe Now. Rob Ford is no longer running for mayor. His brother Doug has stepped in officially, but we haven't actually seen Doug Ford on the campaign trail. He has been attending to his brother's health problems. Well, the Globe's Elizabeth Church is our Toronto City Hall bureau chief, and she joins us now. Welcome,
Hi.
Elizabeth.
Good morning.
Is there any word from the Doug Ford campaign about what he's going to do?
No, still in a holding pattern. His spokesman told me this morning that they still don't have any date set, at least for today.
So any indication on whether he's going to take part in debates, what his platform's going to be?
Well, the expectation that eventually he will join campaign events, he will take place and take part in debates. We just don't know when that's going to happen. Also, people are assuming that he'll pick up where his brother left off as far as policy goes. They've generally supported the same things at City Council, so we're expecting that it will be the mayor's policy going forward.
Any feeling about what he's going to be like on the campaign trail?
Well, a lot of people are speculating.
Yeah.
I mean, Doug Ford is known for speaking his mind, for speaking off the cuff. People are saying he's going to have to learn to stay on message, not to rise to the bait during debates. Obviously, opponents are going to try to get him to maybe speak more off the cuff. So he's going to have to stick to his message and keep that in check.
And remind us about the state of the race. Like, when he does step into it in earnest, what is he stepping into?
Well, he's stepping into a race where right now John Tory's the front runner. Recent polls have had him anywhere from 12 to 14 points in the lead. Olivia Chow was about even with the mayor when he stepped out of the race, and some recent polling shows that Doug's there as well, taken basically the same spot with his brother. So it will be interesting to see whether he can hold that position, what will happen to it once he starts campaigning.
I mean, you mentioned John Tory and Olivia Chow. How are they positioning themselves for the arrival of Doug Ford?
Well, this has been an interesting time. They've had a chance now to campaign without a Ford in the race. There's been a series of debates. They've gone on, continued, while the mayor's been hospitalized. Brief pause, except for a brief pause yesterday. Olivia Chow presenting herself as the alternative to the Tory Ford policies. So trying to group Mr. Tory in with the Fords on herself as the progressive candidate. Mr. Tory obviously trying to differentiate himself from the Fords, saying he represents a change at City Hall.
And there's going to be some thought given to how the Ford rivals calibrate their message, their attacks, when Doug Ford arrives, presumably.
That's right. And right now, both candidates have started saying, this isn't about the mayor, this isn't about individuals, this is about policy. Clearly some sensitivity about being seen to attack the mayor, who's obviously, in grave physical health. So they want to say, let's not talk about the person, let's talk about policy. This is a debate about policy. So that's where their messages seem to be shifting.
And it's worth reminding the audience that Rob Ford is still on the ballot for a city council seat, isn't he?
That's right. When he pulled out of the mayor's race, he put his name forward to run in his old council seat in Etobicoke.
And any indication about how he's going to campaign, if at all?
Too soon to say.
Yeah.
I mean, the doctor was asked that last night during the press conference, and he said that people react differently to chemotherapy treatment. Really hard to say how the mayor will be as far as health goes during the next 6 weeks.
But he's not required to make any appearances, sign any papers, go to City Hall or anything like that.
No, his name is on the ballot now, and I think there is the expectation that he, represented that ward for 10 years. That his name obviously is well known. That's the center of his support. That he'll get support if his name's on the ballot.
So October 27th comes around, voting day. Rob Ford gets elected, for that city council seat. I mean, is there a minimum number of times he has to appear at City Hall in order to hold on to that seat?
Well, there are rules around absences from City Council. If a councillor's away for a certain number of times, then his seat can be declared vacant. But traditionally, when councillors away because of medical reasons, the absence is excused. So I don't think there's much of a danger of that.
Okay, Elizabeth, thank you so much. Well, that's all for today's show. If you've got a moment, hop on to Twitter. Who are you supporting in the Toronto election? Tweet us at Globe Now. Thanks for watching. I'm Affan Chowdhry.